Hello and welcome to the Epic Film Sleuth. Hold your horses, as we have come once again with a psychological thriller recap of the film The Watchers, which was released just last year. The supernatural horror this film has projected upon its audience messes with their heads and makes them question the reality of their own existence. So stay tight and watch out for spoilers ahead before continuing our movie review. The film opens with a man getting hunted by some unseen creatures. He seems to be stuck in some kind of a loop in the middle of a forest, which won't let him out. Tired of running, he climbs a tall tree, but it doesn't take him long to fall back down and get devoured by the creatures that were hunting him. The scenes swing to our lead, Mina, who works at a bird shop on an isolated island. She is tasked by the shopkeeper to deliver a rare breed of parrot at the island's zoo. She visits a bar that night where she gets drunk. As soon as the dawn breaks, she sets out with the parrot to deliver it. Her twin sister calls her on the way, but since she has estranged herself from her after their mother's death, she doesn't answer the call. She drives through the woods to get to the zoo, but her car stops working near the loop, and she gets lost there with the caged parrot. Shortly after, she follows the glimpse of an older woman and comes across a bunker. The older woman offers her shelter and gives her 5 seconds to make up her mind. She runs inside it without thinking, and the woman locks the shelter's entrance. She eventually introduces herself as Madeline, one of the lost survivors seeking shelter in the bunker. Madeline further introduces Mina to 2 other survivors, Ciara and Daniel. They drop the shelter's lore and state that they call it the Coop. At different times, they got lost in the woods with their partners the same way Mina did. They are permanently stuck here and can't find a way out because they're hunted down by a species of bewildered creatures from another world called the Watchers. They constantly keep an eye on Madeline and the others through the mirror, which acts as a transparent glass on the outside. They are trapped at night mostly because that's when the Watchers come out of their burrows and hunt down anything or anyone they see. Madeline brings Mina next to the mirror for the Watchers to see and welcome her. They cheer and applaud for her, which Mina finds creepy. After spending the night at the Coop, Mina takes a stroll in the morning with Ciara and Daniel since the Watchers don't threaten them in the noon. Ciara looks for some certain kinds of herbs, during which Mina gets singed out somehow. She decides to find a way out herself but ends up getting baffled by a giant Watcher at a distance. Madeline ultimately finds her and warns her not to go astray again. Madeline gathers Ciara and Daniel before herding them all back to the Coop. After spending the entire day doing nothing, Mina, Ciara, and Daniel set out for another stroll the next day. Daniel goes his own way, leaving Ciara behind with Mina. She reveals that she got lost in the woods 5 months ago with her husband, who got separated from her and never found his way back. It hints that the man shown in the beginning was her husband. Walking ahead, Ciara takes Mina to the burrows to show where the Watchers rest during the day and only come out to hunt at night. In the next scene, Madeline sets up a fire near the Coop and lays down some basic rules set by the Watchers that she's observed so far. The Watchers don't like it when one turns their back on them in the mirror window. The second rule is to seal shut the Coop at night, and the last rule is that they shouldn't lurk near the well at night. As long as they abide by the rules, they can't be harmed. At night, Mina gets bored and taps at the mirror window to interact with the Watchers. At first, she gets no response and goes to crash on the couch. The Watchers appear later and make aware of their presence with their chittering sounds. Madeline contemplates everything and makes Mina face the window so the Watchers can see who tries to interact with them. As days pass, Mina grows the courage to flee with Daniel during the daylight and plans on climbing down one of the burrows out of sheer curiosity because she can't stand the idea of getting lost in the woods for the rest of her life. Despite Daniel's warning, she takes his help and lowers herself down a burrow using a rope. There, Mina discovers a newspaper from the 90s and a few materialistic possessions such as a camera and a bike that probably belonged to their victims. A Watcher spots her, and we witness his giant hand approaching Mina from afar. It is unable to come near Mina as she stands in the daylight right under the burrow opening. Before the Watcher gets any ideas to get to her, Daniel pulls her out of there and returns to the Coop with the stolen items. Madeline interrogates them about the possessions, but they lie about finding them on their scavenger hunt. Daniel works his talent and fixes the camera. He attaches it to a monitoring screen and places the camera outside their door. When the night falls, the Watchers start showing up outside the Coop entrance. The first one is posed as Ciara's dead husband. When Ciara watches him from the surveillance monitor, She loses her sense of reality and begs to open the door for him. Madeline prevents her from doing such a thing and reminds her how no human can possibly lurk outside in the Watchers' territory. She immediately begins suspecting Mina and Daniel for bringing the Watchers to their doorsteps and asks them to tell her the truth about where they found the possessions. They end up telling Madeline the truth. She doesn't have the time to scold them as she's calming Ciara down. She asks her to ask personal questions from the man outside to confirm he's her husband or not. When the Watcher fails to answer the last book her husband was reading, Ciara soaks in tears after realizing her husband's long dead. As the Watcher's cover is blown, the other Watchers drag him away from there. They are angry about Mina stealing their items, so they try to crack the mirror wall to break in. Madeline faces the mirror wall and promises to return them in exchange for being spared. The Watchers strike the deal and leave. As soon as the sun rises the next day, Madeline personally walks to the burrows and throws all the stolen items back in there. On the other hand, Mina starts observing the nature of the forest and writes everything down in her journal. She also marks the trees she passes by to check whether she's broken the loop or not. Mina also grows distant from the rest. One day, Ciara shows vulnerability and asks Mina to take her to the burrows to find her husband. On their way, they hear screams and return, only to find Daniel tying up Madeline outside and hoping for the Watchers to munch on her because he finds her evil. Ciara runs after Daniel while Mina stays behind to untie Madeline. Soon, the sun sets and the Watchers come out for hunting. They run back to the coop, which Daniel has locked and is now refusing to let Mina in because of Madeline. They end up hiding under a structure made up of branches. They witness a giant fleet of Watchers marching up to the coop. Daniel rats them out to the Watchers by telling them Madeline and Mina are out in the open. They immediately scatter and begin looking for them. Madeline and Mina nearly get clocked, but they stop breathing and drive the Watchers away. They return to the coop and convince Ciara to open the door for them. Once inside, Madeline exposes herself as someone who had come to the forest by her choice to study the Watchers, as she once encountered a Watcher and witnessed it morph into her, only it was a much more atrocious version of her. She became obsessed ever since and started studying them. They go by many names, some of which are the changelings and fairies. She knows that they can replicate humans and are secretly studying them. The Watchers arise outside the coop once again and begin impersonating them, which Madeline knows is a threat from them. She takes the kids to a hidden section of the bunker underneath it and reveals a professor found this place and researches the Watchers from here. They come across some tapes in which the professor has succeeded in capturing a Watcher and is conducting experiments on them. In the last tape, he explains how to escape the forest and shoots himself afterwards. They take his directions and head out towards the river stream by freeing Mina's parrot and following it. On their way, they spot a sealed opening with fairies carved out on the sealed stone. Madeline explains that the fairies are banished here by humans, who failed to harmonize themselves with any other species besides themselves. The Watchers come after them in a large number, but they run for their lives and discover the stream, where they find the professor's boat. A Watcher shapeshifts into Ciara's husband once again and takes away Daniel. The women get on the boat and sail away from there successfully. When Mina gets back to the real world, she visits the professor's university to find his research, which reveals that the Watchers are the products of human and fairy relations. She finds some intriguing paintings of the Watcher and fairies, so she decides to visit Ciara and enlighten her with the discovery. There, she goes through more pictures and finds out Madeline was the professor's wife, who died and inspired the professor to experiment on the Watchers in hopes of replicating Madeline. In a turn of events, Ciara shapeshifts into Madeline, who's a Watcher. Madeline knew Mina would try to inform Ciara about this, so she took her form and waited for Mina's arrival. She takes her true form and tries to kill Mina so she doesn't expose her to the humans. Mina finally vents about being a rebellious child who caused her mother to crash their car and die in a horrible accident. She tells this to prove she has an evil side like Madeline too. Failed to kill Mina, Madeline flies away with her wings. This leaves Mina with a whole new perspective on life. She sets aside her differences and visits her estranged twin sister. She confesses to the twin that she blamed herself for their mother's death, which is why she didn't have the courage to face her. On the other hand, Madeline is secretly following Mina around while taking on various human forms to make sure she doesn't out her secret. Here, the film ends. If you made it to the end, this means you must have liked our recap. Make sure to like and subscribe to our channel so you can stay hooked and updated on more recaps from us. Thanks for watching, and we hope to see you in the next recap.